And we are live. Welcome, family, to another show. Today, I have my good friends with me, Xavier and Kazeem. They are boots on the ground currently in both of y'all in Moscow, Russia, correct?
Yes,
Correct.
sir.
All right, and we know what we have going on as far as the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. They're gonna give us some information about what's going on and why uh, the war is going on or the war effort is going on currently from their perspective, not much so than Western media. The Western media kind of filters things out for the American audience, so they're gonna give us the truth of what's really going on out there. Welcome to the show, Xavier and Kazeem.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Peace, be one. Salute. Greetings, family.
All right, all right, and welcome to the show, Kazeem. How you doing, bro?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you. Thank you for your time. How you doing over there in Brazil?
Yes, I'm here currently in Brazil. They're having like a festival going on right now, so it's gonna be crazy later on. But I'm definitely gonna capture some footage. All right, I want to give a shout out to the chat. Shout out to Jamel of Scotland Neck in the building early. Shout out to Meta Rick, he's in the building as well. So Xavier, I'm gonna start off with you, man. Well, let's give us a little bit of your background first on how familiar you are with Eastern Europe and Russia.
I moved out here 2012. Bulgaria, Ukraine, um, Russia,
Mhm.
um, Romania as well. And pretty much a traveler. I ride my motorcycle during the summer. The summer months, I spend the summer month riding from countries to countries here in Eastern Europe, and I go as far as London. I go all the way to Western Europe to London. So I spend a lot of my summers on the bikes, and stopping off in different countries, man. Months at a time, spending them in different countries. From, like I said, I start off in Bulgaria, Romania, Ukraine. Then I make my way west, Poland, and from there, I go to Austria and I hit up Western Europe, go through Germany. So yeah, I've been around these parts for quite some time.
Nice, nice. And Kazeem, how long have you been in Russia?
I've been in Russia for about 12 years. I actually came here to study aviation, but during my time in Russia, I've had the opportunity to visit some European countries like Spain, Germany, Czech, Finland, France, and so on, and some countries in Asia like Dubai. So basically, I live in Moscow,
Hmm.
and everything is going down here. It's going good.
Okay, okay. Nice. This is amazing because we never hear of African Americans or Africans or moving around Russia like that. Like you never hear of that. So this is going to be very interesting interview. All right. Now, Xavier, you mentioned that you traveled all around Eastern Europe on the bikes. Like, what's the police presence out there? Do they pull people over, or can you just go from country to country? You have to show your passport. How does that work?
So yeah, traveling from country to country, I show my passport at the border. When I go from the border of Bulgaria to Romania, I show my passport, and they stamp the passport, and they just let me on through. Um, and Yeah, it's no issues as far as crossing the borders. Um, it's probably some places are long lines, but
Mhm.
because I have a motorcycle, um, especially coming back into Eastern Europe, on there's a lot of Turkish people who travel between Turkey and Germany, so they have to go through Bulgaria because that's the first country in Europe once um, crossing the Europe from Asia, because Turkey has a continental divide, so it separates the continent.
Mhm.
Turkey is where Asia starts.
Okay.
So if you're coming from east into west, and then if you're coming from west into east, obviously, um, that's where it ends. So basically, that's they come into Bulgaria, and then during the summer months or when it gets cold, they start driving back. So it'd be a long line at the borders. And like I said, I'm on a motorcycle, so I get to skip past the line. Some of them get pissed off, but
Mhm.
I'm eligible to do it if you're on a motorcycle. So crossing borders, Romania into Ukraine, no problem. I got to cross the river. It's a river over there, so you cross the river, and you go into Ukraine, and then from Ukraine I can go to Odessa, Ukraine, Kiev, Ukraine, and then I cross straight across into Poland or Slovakia or Hungary. It doesn't matter which one of those borders, but they're somewhat close to each other.
Okay, and like, is there a major difference between Russia and Ukraine?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily see the difference, although Ukraine does have their own language.
Okay.
But the official language in Ukraine is actually Russian.
Hmm.
And the language seems similar, but then when you understand Polish language, you kind of go, wait, Ukrainian language seem a little more closer to Polish language in some instances. But wherever you have a group of people and they start crossing the borders, you're going to have a lot of similarities in the language, similarities in the culture, similarities in the people. And
Hmm.
so that's what I did notice between Ukraine and Russia. But they were once under the Soviet banner for a long time.
Hmm.
Excuse me. And under the Soviet banner, people would, pretty much mistaken them for being one group of people. And for the most part, politically, they were. Um, ethnic wise, I guess it would be the same difference between people that live in Mexico and perhaps its neighboring countries, neighboring Latin American countries, or Colombians and Venezuelans, or,
Okay.
Colombians and
Okay.
Peruvians, like I'm sure Colombians have a different accent of Spanish versus people that are their neighbors. And people can
Hmm.
say, "Oh, the way he speak English, I can tell he's not Colombian." So it'd be the same thing with Ukraine and Russia when they speak the Russian language in Ukraine. A bit of a bit of an accent, but for the most part, they understand each other. It's all Russian language.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. And
Even the food is the same. Sorry, the food,
mhm.
the borscht is a kind of soup that they consume. So the food is very similar. Just about everything is similar. Music, lots of things are very similar. Again, they were once under the banner of the Soviet Union, which was not much of a difference between the countries.
Okay. And Kazeem, you are a helicopter pilot, correct?
Yeah, well, yeah, I studied helicopter pilot, and I also an engineer for.
Hmm.
Yep.
Oh, excellent. And you speak the Russian language?
Yeah, I speak Russian language because to study here, first you have to learn the Russian language for 1 year, and
Hmm.
then when you enroll in university, you still keep learning the Russian language. But first, you have to learn the Russian language for 1 year complete. So yeah, I study Russian language, and of course, I had to understand Russian language more by speaking to the people on the street. I mean the native Russians, so which helps me a lot to understand the Russian language.
Man, so how difficult is learning Russian? Because I know the word they don't have the letter system, right? They don't have an alphabet.
Yeah, they do actually. They do have their
Okay.
own alphabet. Yeah, I think that's 30 alphabets. Well, in the beginning, just like any other language, of course, it might be difficult in the start, but when you flow along the line with people on the street, it's be getting much more and easier for you. But I could say in the beginning it was hard, but now it's not what I could say is difficult. Actually, it's pretty easy to understand.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Cool, man. Yeah. When I hear the Russian language, I'm just like, oh man, that sounds crazy. Just the way they pronounce their words.
Yeah, well, I guess they pronounce the word based on the way it sounds, like a little bit harsh, like the way they make it sound.
Hmm.
But there are a couple of times, for example, when I speak Russian language, it's with accent of Nigeria or accent of English, for example. The
Hmm.
Russians might feel like, why do you sound so soft? You don't pronounce it that way. You got to pronounce it with a hard voice because that's how we pronounce it. That's the way they want it to be pronounced. Like, don't pronounce it so soft. You have to be very strong in pronouncing it. Just kind of. But yeah, it's not that difficult. It's just the way it's being pronounced by the Russian. I mean, basically, what I'm trying to say is that's how it should be pronounced because they are the owner of the language. They know what it means. So they don't want it to be pronounced softly. But if you do pronounce it softly, it doesn't matter. It's okay. They're just trying to explain to you, like, now this is the way it has to be. pronounce, because if you do, just like an accent, for example, if you pronounce it in a different way, it might basically mean something different.
Okay.
And again, there are a lot of things which you have to put in consideration. For example, they have some letters or some words which, if it ends with O, you have to pronounce it like A, for example. So
Mm-hmm.
all these things, yeah, you might have to be very careful. If you pronounce it like O, they will understand you, but it might mean something different.
Okay. Okay.
Right. It's like saying thank you when you say thank you in Russian. It's written as spasibo, but it's pronounced as spasiba.
Pasiba. That's thank you in Russian. Pasiba.
Spasiba with a S, like
Oh, spasiba.
specific.
Uh huh.
Spasiba. Yeah, so you pronounce it spasiba, but when you look at it, it's when you actually read it in letters, it's actually spasibo. So, um, kind of like French in that way. But yeah, that's how it is. Yeah, that's how you say thank you in Russian. Spasibo, spasiba.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And before we get into the gist of this conversation, as far as the conflict, I want to ask both of you. I'll start off with you, Xavier. How does it feel? Moving around, being black in Russia. Like, do you feel comfortable? Like how do you feel?
I feel comfortable actually. When I ride past the police,
Hmm.
um, I mean, they even ask to take pictures with me. It's like, the police in Eastern Europe, I don't get the aggression. I don't get the suspicious look. I don't get um, uh, coming from the Matrix, coming from United States of America, actually, being born and raised in New York. It's just it's a whole nother environment being here. I don't feel everybody's watching me. I don't feel like I have to step outside and know that I'm a black man in
Hmm.
America or in Europe. I don't worry about any of the things I used to worry about. In America, I could walk into a store, I could walk into a restaurant and purchase food, and I don't have to worry about anybody following me around, seeing if I'm a steal. So I don't have to deal with the stereotypes, which actually relieves a lot of stress. It's one
Hmm.
less stress I have to deal with when I walk into the banks in Romania or when I go to the banks in Bulgaria. I don't have to worry about. I mean, they address me, you know, by your surname, like Mister Such and Such, versus like just the feelings that, like I said, I don't have to worry about the same uh, aggression, should I say, social aggression, or the us being degraded here. In Eastern Europe, I don't have to worry about that. So a lot more relaxed, a lot more stress free. I'm out of the matrix. So how I feel moving around, um, when I leave major cities, like on my motorcycle, when I leave like the capital city of Romania is Bucharest. When I leave Bucharest and I'm riding my motorcycle through smaller villages and towns, and people see me and they look at me and they wave, "Hey, what's up? Stop, stop, stop! Let's take a picture. Stop, stop!" They try to speak to me in their language, and they ask me where I'm from, and so it's definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting and different. I don't feel like my stress levels have to go up out here because I'm not dealing with, um, you know, the stuff that we deal with as Black people in America. I'm not dealing with that directly. Now, people ask me, is there racism in these parts, Eastern Europe? And I tell them that, you know, that unfortunately, white supremacy is global. And yes, there could be individuals, racism uh, exists perhaps individually, but not systematically. So I don't have to worry about the whole police force targeting Black people in Eastern Europe.
Hmm.
I don't have to worry about the banks degrading me. I don't have to worry about being redlined or red tape here versus uh, moving around in America. So yeah, it's not systematic. If people are racist here, it's individualized. Whereas in America, it's systematic and individualized. I hope I
Mm.
explained that correctly.
Yeah, very much so. I dropped off for a minute. Kazeem, did you want to
Yep.
chime in?
Yeah, sure. Well, like I said, I've been here for 12 years, and I've never come across any kind of problem or racism stuff with, especially with the police. I mean, I drive here, and there are a couple of times they've stopped me, and they've never for once tell me like, come down, step down from the car, or want to search you or something. They just like a normal question, license and registration, please.
Hmm.
Okay, you're fine, you go, thank you, you can go. And sometimes I even smile, like, what do you do? Like, I just, just teach here, or I work here, I'm an aviation guy. They're like, oh, you want to fly me? Are you the one flying me every time I fly to Europe? But yeah, maybe it's me, maybe not. It's kind
Okay.
of joke. They don't really
Uh-huh.
care, like, be a black guy. No, 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 there is nothing. I've never heard, even we got about more than 3,000 Africans here, or even more, and there is none who has ever said he has been, like had any problem with the police or anything. No, there is nothing like that here. And talking about the people of Russia, no, I don't. Except if you accept the old Russians. I mean, the Soviet Union, who had a different mentality. Like, who are these people? Who are the black people which have never seen before? And it's not like a
Hmm.
racism. It's just like they just don't understand. They don't know. They want to know. And it's not like they're gonna see you and call the police for you. No, they just move to you and feel like, hey, where are you from? Like, just to try to know who you are. Not like saying, no, go back to your country, you're black. No, 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 no. That's never been such cases. I mean, maybe there is, but as far as I'm concerned, I've never heard any of those. No. So everything has been peaceful here with the black people. Even if I even know some couple of black guys which have actually, like, you have expired documents, for example.
Uh-huh.
They've been caught by police many times. I just ask them, where's your document? Oh, I'm sorry, it's expired. I don't have it. Okay, well, you don't have it, you don't have it. Go home, go sleep. It's not like I want to take you to a police station. I want to deport you. No, no. Except if you've gone beyond your limits, like, fighting on the streets, or any kind of drugs or something, then, that's a different level. I mean, a couple of times they've even stopped me when I had no tickets. Like, I went to the bus, I didn't pay, the metro, I didn't pay, and they stopped me like, "Where's the ticket?" "Well, I'm sorry, I didn't pay." "Why?" "Because I don't have money." Just a kind of joke. Like, okay, you don't have it, you don't have it. Next time you have it, go home. That's it. So there is nothing like causing catastrophe, or no, no. They don't really care so much about. I mean, they treat everyone here the same. It's not because you're black or white, or Asian or Azerbaijan. No, everyone here, they treat them the same. That's just the way it is here. Everything has been peaceful, actually. But I understand, of course, people who don't live here, the way they look at Russia outside, or the way they
Hmm.
heard about Russia outside. I mean, it's quite understandable what they read. Russia is just a country who, they don't like talking that much, like just like Western or Europe, like, this is who we have. No, they just don't talk at all. They just keep everything to themselves. If you want to talk about us, talk it. It's a problem. So they don't talk. They just look at you, do what you want to do. I'm living my life, you're living your life. So they've been themselves for it. I mean, that's the way it is here. Everything has been peaceful. They just don't talk. And they don't hate you, they just don't talk.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Now, Xavier, what's going on out there with this conflict between? Can you explain to us? The reason why they're saying it might be a World War III between Russia and NATO.
Okay, well, I'm gonna try to summarize it as far as like the history of it. But basically, when you have like after World War II, that's what
And and,
split.
and I'm gonna go through these pics while you speaking. If you want to narrate what's going on there too, do that
Okay.
as well.
Oh yeah, so that's me walking around Moscow, um,
Okay.
walking around here, and it's not much going on. Um, you can just see it's a normal day in Moscow.
Okay.
Um, the picture, I went by the American embassy. There are people in the American embassy, and I found that interesting because the American embassy cleared out in Ukraine um, a week ago, a week or so. They left the American embassy. Everybody worked there. They left, but in here in Moscow, they're still here. So
Okay.
there's you know I guess there's no chance of anything happening here in Moscow. Again, this Ukraine is definitely far away from here. Um, it does border Russia, but it's far away from Moscow. A good 17-hour drive away. So um, as far as anything happening here, I don't see it happening. So what's going on is it's just a what they say in here in Ukraine. I'm sorry, what they saying here in Moscow and the people in Ukraine are saying it's war between president. One president would like to join NATO. The president of Ukraine would like to join NATO,
Hmm.
and um, and this is just a president wanting to join NATO, and Russia is not okay with that, given the fact that we got to go back to World War II. It was the Red Army, the Soviet Union, that actually invaded Berlin when Hitler was in charge. It was the pretty much the Russian military that actually went in there and took over Berlin. So from there they started Eastern Europe and Western Europe. Of course, Eastern Europe was socialist. Regular day here.
Hmm.
And turn my volume down the on the video
Yeah.
if you can. Yeah. So um, given that being said, they had a treaty. The West had a treaty with the East. The West being United States of America and Western Europe, Germany. Well, I'm sorry, London. I'm sorry, England. I'm naming cities and not countries. England, France, pretty much the whole Europe had an agreement with the United States together that there's going to start NATO, which stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It's basically everybody putting their military together. And once you had NATO, NATO kept expanding throughout the years. And the agreement was, which they had a Warsaw Pact. It's called the Warsaw Pact. And the agreement actually states you're not going to join any other military force. So a lot of countries in Eastern Europe that were Soviet, NATO kept expanding. And given the fact that NATO expanded so much into getting closer to Russia, that became a problem. Missiles now, if Ukraine joined NATO, they can place missiles that can reach Russia.
Hmm. Okay. See, we're not hearing that part of the story.
And Russia's been expanding over the years, even 2021, 2000 to 2020, even a few years ago, there were Eastern European countries that joined NATO. And it's like, wait a minute, you guys aren't supposed to join NATO. You guys are violating the Warsaw Pact, the treaty agreement, the friendship agreement that they had between each other. So there was an agreement saying, hey, look, if, we're going to get rid of communism, you're going to have your independence, just do us a favor. Do not join any other military organization. And these countries were
Because
like,
they're so
okay,
close.
yeah, because they're so close. And Poland was like, okay, we won't. And next thing you know, Poland joined NATO. Well, the president made the decision to join NATO. And then Bulgaria joined NATO. It's like, wait a minute, you guys aren't supposed to, we had an agreement. So NATO kept expanding further and further into territories, which became problematic for Russia. And now we have a situation where NATO wished to expand, and the president of Ukraine, the new president, who's a comedian, by the way, he decided to make a decision on the behalf of, well, he attempted to make a decision on the behalf of Ukrainian people by trying to join NATO. And Russia was like, no, you join NATO, there are going to be missiles placed right there at the Russian border, because Ukraine, obviously, it borders Russia. So who wants that, right? The problem that's happening now is they seeing firsthand how they being abandoned by the West, because they don't want a nuclear war. They don't want a
Hmm.
nuclear war at all. If NATO even gets involved in what's going on between Russia and Ukraine, you know, there's going to be nuclear war, and that's why people saying that it's a possibility of a World War III happening. Um, for the most part, Russia um, initially were not targeting civilians. It was like, hey, um, put your weapons down. We're not here to, target civilians. We're not here to go after the people of Ukraine. And that's what Russia was pretty much explaining to them. But of course, people thinking that they're going to get help from NATO decided to, fight back, use their weapons back. And now you have a conflict. And now, as they can see, Ukraine is now begging for help, saying, "Hey, help us, help us, help us." And it's like, well, you're not part of NATO, so NATO is unable to help you at this time. The West, which America, um, they did bring some sanctions against Russians, but it against Russia, but it's financial sanctions, um, against some billionaires. They're like, okay, we're going to freeze your asset. You have $6 billion. We're going to freeze $1 billion of it in the American banks, so you can't conduct business, and which is not so effective. But again, this is basically me summarizing the whole thing. One group want to join. One president want to make a decision on Ukrainians' behalf to join NATO. Meanwhile, Russia is not having that. They're like, listen, NATO been expanding all these years, getting closer to Russia, violating the treaty agreement that we had, which was again the Warsaw Agreement, the Warsaw Pact, and also the friendship treaty that they had with each other.
Mm-hmm.
All the Eastern European countries had a friendship agreement with each other, not to join another military organization like NATO. But again, when you have the kind of money that NATO has and they can influence presidential decisions, and
Mm-hmm.
this is what we're dealing with right now. This is what we see happening, and this is what we see the result of. Ukraine trying to join NATO.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Hope it wasn't confusing the way I explained.
No, no, no. You're very clear in what you were saying. So this had nothing to do with like a pipeline or oil or anything like it. It had nothing to do with resources. It's just strictly their association with NATO.
I mean, Ukraine does not. Ukraine does not. I'm not going to say it doesn't have any resources. Um, Russia supplies um, natural gas to a lot of the Western European countries. That was an agreement that they made, a financial agreement they made with each other. So yes, Russia does have a pipeline. They made an agreement with Germany actually when Markov was in power. I believe she's not president anymore in Germany. I believe it's a new guy there now. But yes,
Mm-hmm.
Russia did make an agreement with Germany years ago to actually for them to supply Russia with Russian gas, natural gas, because it's cheaper to get it from Russia. Russia is not too far. They could build a pipeline, which they were working on.
Mm-hmm.
Italy also receives fuel, natural gas from Russia, and they've been doing so for a while. And it would be detrimental for Russia to cut that off because then Italy and other parts of Europe would have to seek, um, natural gas from elsewhere, and that would be problematic. Again, this definitely so a combination of things are involved, have to be factored in when you're talking about um, going after Russia, specifically going after Russia for what's happening in Ukraine right now. Again, the people said in the past, like this is a war between presidents. That's what the people of Russia are saying. That's what the people in Ukraine are saying. Ukrainians. You don't have Ukrainians walking around saying we hate Russia, we hate Russia, and you don't have Russians walking around saying we hate Ukrainian, we hate Ukrainian. This is strictly, unfortunately, it's happening now, but at the start of it, at the outstart, it's a political matter. It's a matter of NATO and Western European powers expanding their reach on into Ukraine and influencing the Ukrainian president to join them. And which is again, is problematic for Russia because imagine NATO at Russia's back door or Russia's neighboring country, and Ukrainians does consist of a lot of ethnic Russians, and that's how when the Crimea was when they annexed Crimea, the Crimea government were the ones that said, "Hey, we don't want to be a part of Ukraine anymore. We want to be a part of Russia," and that's why it was a peaceful. See in the Western media they keep saying invasion or they annexed or they took over, when in fact these regional governments of Ukraine is like, hey, we don't want to be a part of Ukraine because we don't want to join NATO.
Hmm.
And this is Ukrainian, again, local government that are saying this. And that's why when Russia did come into these parts and they did sign their treaty with Russia, they didn't have any issues with them. It was no killings. It was no, I think they said one person died. But, that's what's reported in the Western media. But it was like, hey, we don't want to be a part of Ukraine. So certain parts of Ukraine don't want to be a part of Ukraine because of the decision that the presidents are making on their behalf. They don't want to be a part of NATO. They don't want to be a part of this westernized military organization that exists. And that's just the reality of what's going on the ground and how this thing even escalated. Um, and that's why you don't have again, NATO know they don't want to get involved with the situation.
Hmm.
This can start nuclear war. They both got nuclear. U.S. got nuclear armaments. Russia has nuclear armaments. Even China right now is they don't call it an invasion. China is not siding with the West. China is looking, going, wait, this is not an invasion. They're not interested in some folks are not some folks in Ukraine are not interested in joining NATO. They don't want to join this Western military, and that's
Hmm.
what's happening right now. So,
Hmm.
um, yeah, when you become a threat to one of the world superpower, Russia, when you're their neighbor and you're actually threatening to bring in a different military force
Hmm.
that's opposing them, of course it's gonna start some sort of conflict. Um, when the U.S. invaded Iraq, saying that there were weapons of mass destruction, a lot of people in the world were against it. But you're not going to see that on CNN. You're not going to see that on Western media.
Exactly.
And they still ain't find no weapons of mass destruction.
Hmm.
And they hung Saddam anyway.
Hmm.
So, I mean, this is the kind of stuff we're dealing with when we're talking about information. Because given the fact that we live in an information age, and right now what's been happening is information have been manipulated on both sides. People say, oh, disinformation and misinformation, and they're coming up with these trick words. When in fact the reality is, look, Russia do not want NATO in their backyard. They violated the agreements that they had with Eastern European countries. And that's just the reality of what's happening. Unfortunately, people are fighting back. People are being killed.
Hmm.
That's what's happening on the ground in Ukraine. People are fighting back. People are being killed. And this, again, these are mostly Ukrainians that are friends with the president. These are mostly Ukrainians that are allied with the current president, who's trying to make the decision to join NATO. And unfortunately, it puts the world and NATO in a difficult situation now because you got Ukrainians. My Ukrainian friends are like, hey, we want help from America, like they help people in the movies. And I'm like, I mean, we growing up in New York, I remember my grandmother, aunt, and everybody used to say, hey, don't believe everything you see on TV.
Hmm.
Yeah, so America coming in to save these people and things of that nature. Um, you know, it's definitely a situation that they don't want. Again, you got somebody that can nullify your weapons. Russia's got nuclear weapons. America has nuclear weapons. Do you really want Ukraine to actually be the reason why this World War III really starts? So it nullifies each other's weapons. So both of them are weaponless when it comes to as far as them going back and forth, um, dropping nuclear bombs on each other. So people saying it's the start of World War III. If NATO don't get involved, which they're already involved, again, they're involved politically, right? They're the one that's telling the Ukrainian president, hey, join us, join us, join us. And unfortunately, that's the decision that's been made on the behalf of the Ukrainian people. Um, Again, China's not looking at it as an invasion. China is looking at it as they're protecting what used to be a territory and agreement that they made.
Hmm.
You violate an agreement, and unfortunately, this what happens. But here in Moscow, it's safe. Um, Everybody's walking around. Nobody's really talking about it like that. As for again, it's not an anti-Ukrainian. sentiment here in Moscow.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Okay.
think the world needs to understand what's going on from both sides, not just um, a perspective of Western media. They have the loudest microphones. They have the loudest media apparatus.
Exactly. And I think some guys in the chat are going by what they hear uh in the news circle, like it's the truth. So they're trying to say, no, that's not true. But you out there, you boots on the ground, you know what's going on. You live out there. And then
Um,
Kazeem speaks Russian. So I would take your news more so than what I see on TV.
I mean, I think is this: as black people, we shouldn't join sides, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the black people here in Moscow, they're not saying, "Hey, let's go join the Russian military." And the black people I know in Ukraine, I just I'm in contact with a couple of good African brothers to list it right now. I've spoken with them, and they're in Ukraine right now. They're not saying, "Let's go join the Ukrainian military" or anything like that. As black people, we just need to understand what's going on with both sides. We need to understand world events. So as far as taking sides, saying this ain't true, that's not true, Russia is lying, America is lying, again, people definitely have to understand what's going on and not so much take sides. Like understand what's going on from both sides, and that's what you're getting here on BMT. What you're getting is black men that actually travel, black men that are actually here. And again, I don't get any aggression as a black man from uh, from the people here. I don't get any kind of aggression from the police that are here. Um, and let me say this for the brothers in the chat that's
Mm-hmm.
actually taking sides, saying this isn't true, that's true. Being a black man in America, let me say this about Ukrainians, okay? The people in Ukraine, and I'm in Ukraine all the time. Obviously, I'm not there now, right? But during the
Right.
summer months, I ride my bike there. Matter of fact, I stayed in Ukraine the majority this summer, 5 months ago. I was in Ukraine pretty much the majority of the summer. And I'm going to say this on a Ukrainian's best day, I'm sorry, on a Ukrainian's worst day in his country, on his worst day, it's better than a black man's best day in America.
Mm.
I'm going to say it again. On their worst day in Ukraine, it's better than a black man's best day in America. What's a black man's best day in America? His birthday? Him going to the club, popping bottles?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. George Floyd, Derek Chauvin has been sentenced to more than 25 years in prison for asphyxiating George Floyd. I mean, what's America's best day? Americans celebrating, yeah, OJ not guilty. What's the best day for a black man in America? Michael
Mm-hmm.
Jordan being a billionaire. Yes, let's celebrate. Dr. Dre's a billionaire. Allegedly, Jay-Z's a billionaire. Let's celebrate. Okay, on your best day in America, it still can't compare to a Ukrainian's worst day in his own country. If a Ukrainian dies in battle, he died for a country
Mm-hmm.
that believes in him. He died for his country. Black people in America, now, again, I'm not getting at our brothers in the military, I'm not getting at our brothers in the armed forces, but I actually just want them to think and consider to themselves the country that they're risking their lives for when they go back to what's considered a normal life for a black man in America. A black man being normal here in Russia, a black man being normal in Ukraine, or even a Ukrainian himself being normal on his worst day, it's better than a black man's best day. And now, as you can see in the videos here, I went by the American embassy. They cleared out the American embassy in Ukraine about a week ago. They said, okay, everybody out.
Mm-hmm.
They cleared out the American embassy in Ukraine in fear of Russian invasion. That's what Western media says. Well, guess what? The American embassy in Russia, right here, and I'm walking by it, it's in the video. They didn't clear out the American embassy here in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
They right here going to work every day as normal. The American embassy here in Moscow, it's just a normal day for them. They're still here. They're not emptying it out. They're not clearing it out. So I think they understand their position and they understand their position as far as this quote unquote conflict slash invasion, as Western media keep putting it, invasion is what's going on.
Okay, okay. I'm gonna catch the super chat real quick, and I'm gonna get Kazeem's point of view on what's going on out there as well. I want to give a shout out to Eric Powell with the $5 super chat. He says, "What's going on? What's going on? Us way is way deeper. Access to the Black Sea has to be secure since Turkey is changing its seaports. Look it up." Okay.
Um,
You familiar with
oh,
that?
okay,
Shout out
yes,
to Eric Powell with the $5 super chat. I appreciate that, bro.
yes,
Are you familiar?
I'm familiar
Go
with
ahead.
that. I live in Bulgaria, which is also on the Black Sea. Um,
Hmm.
it's not a battle of a it's not a now yes the Black Sea people are conducting commerce on the Black Sea, countries are conducting business on the Black Sea, right? But this is not Russia versus Turkey. Russia has an agreement with Turkey. And the agreement with Turkey is we're going to conduct business together. The majority of Eastern European and Europe and Asian nations have a treaty with each other. It's called a friendship treaty. It's up in one of the screen, up in one of the friendship treaty, and the countries that are involved in the friendship treaty, just like NATO has their own treaty with the countries that they're involved with, right? So NATO has a treaty with London, with England, with Germany, with all these countries. So um, what I'm saying is this: it's more than just that particular business model. They print the money. You print your own money. If you're a world superpower, you print your own money, and everybody else works for it. The citizens works for it. So in
Hmm.
America, the Federal Reserve print the money. People work for it. In Russia, over here they print their money. People work for it. So this has been more of a military aspect. For instance, okay, right now, who owns the Barclay Center? A Russian oligarch. A Russian
Hmm.
guy owns the Barclay Center. Who owns 25% of Facebook? Another Russian oligarch. Who owns a lot of the business that are going on in America are, as we know, online and things like that, is owned by these very same Russian people who are actually backed by the Russian government, right? So let's take it even further than that. Let's leave the planet Earth. Right now, the space shuttle in America, the US space shuttle is linked with the Russian space shuttle right now. So they're conducting business on all type of level that goes beyond just the Black Sea.
Okay.
So specifically, it's not about the taking total control of the Black Sea. Yes, Russia do not want NATO to be on the Black Sea, which they are. They have American ships are in parts of Turkey and in parts of Greece. Marmara right there. You got Izmir right there. So yes, there are American battleships that are in Turkey. They're American military troops in Turkey that are allies with America. Yes, that is true. But it definitely goes deeper than just them fighting over the Black Sea. They do not want Ukraine to join NATO because if Ukraine violate their agreement and join NATO, then it's going to be problematic for Russian military.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Kazeem, let's get your take on what's going on.
Yeah, yeah, I would say it's definitely not the way the world is seeing it. I mean, um, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, I talked to some of my Russian friends, girls and guys. The first thing they told me was like, "What's going on?" That was the first
Hmm.
question. It's like, "Really? What's going on?" So yeah, I don't know what's going on. All I know is there is this, some bombing in Ukraine border or something. I was like, yeah, you see, you don't even know what is going on because they don't even care about like what's going on. Like they don't understand it the way the Western are understanding it, like Putin is a bad guy or something. No, they don't think it that way. They don't even hear the news that way because the reality is on every Ukrainian, in every Ukrainian family, there's Russian, and in every Russian family, there's a Ukrainian. So this is a USSR family situation. Like they are all the same. And I'm gonna tell you, even the current Ukrainian president, the guy even speaks Russian fluently more than Ukrainian language, which we don't
Hmm.
even know. Which means he actually lived in Russia. So you see, he himself, we can even call him a Russian, not even a Ukrainian. So it's beyond what people are saying that they don't like each other. No, there is nothing like they don't like each other. They are all one family. It's very simple, which Xavier already said, what Putin wants. I mean, let's go back to history, back in Cuban crisis in 1962, when
Mm-hmm.
Russia was trying to install its missiles in Cuba, which America was against. The same thing is happening here. It's very simple. Putin just tell them, I don't want you to install anything in my backyard. It's my country. It's my neighbor. It's my family. It's my USSR. Don't put anything in here. Simple and short. If you don't put it, there'll be peace. If you put it, I wouldn't like it. I mean, it's something to easy and understand. But again, the Western Biden are not telling the world the reality of everything going on. Putin made a video of 27 minutes on the 24th, which it explained exactly what is going on, why is fighting for this, and what the lies, everything the NATO has been lying for years, for the past 8 years. When they showed the video on YouTube, they only showed when Putin threatening the NATO and the world that nobody should intervene. They didn't show the whole video where Putin explained everything, everything going on exactly. So
Mm-hmm.
this thing is actually not the way they're saying it. Again, I live here, exactly came here. I don't know, maybe you've not been to Russia before because the way they're talking about Russia is quite different. If you come to Russia, you realize it's definitely not the way they are looking at it. It's damn peaceful here. No one is even fighting war. I mean, there was a protest recently, yeah. And this is because they don't understand that because when Putin attacked Ukraine, the thing was like, oh, why do you have to attack our family in Ukraine? This is what we are protesting for. And Putin had to let them understand, no, this is not what you're thinking. This is what I'm fighting for. Did you see the protest after then? No, there was no protest yesterday. There was no protest today. There is nothing. It's because they don't understand it. By the time they understand it, like, oh, really? That's what is going on? Well, then Putin is right. The only thing they just don't like is why does he have to use weapon to fight his own people? If he says his own people, then just talk to them. But he said, I've talked to them thousands of times. What do you want me to do? Even the president is your brother. He speaks Russian fluently more than Ukraine language. He's still not listening to me. What do you want me to do? What choice do I have left? I have no choice. So I'm doing the best I could do. But it doesn't mean I want to kill the Ukrainian or I want to invade Ukraine. No, it's not the way you're looking at it. But this is just the only way the NATO or the US can listen to me. And what do we see after then? They're actually trying to listen to him. I mean, before then, Joe Biden was, like, I'm gonna put sanction on the SWIFT and I'm gonna do this and that. When he invaded, what did they do? They had to calm down the SWIFT sanction because they know the consequence, what is gonna happen if they should go ahead and do that. So they actually also know what they are doing. I mean, like it's like my brother I've just said, is a political stuff. It's not about the people. The people are not even fighting. Actually, they don't even know what is going on. They're just listening. The thing about Russian citizens is this: they love Europe. They
Mm-hmm.
want to travel abroad, Turkey, Germany, everywhere. They just like traveling. That's the only thing they like. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, 9.9% of Russians want to travel in summer, even in winter. So what they don't like is the fact that if things goes worse, they won't have the opportunity to travel the way they want to. That's the only problem they have. They don't care what's going on. So that's what they don't like. They're gonna tell you, "Oh, how am I gonna buy a ticket to go in somewhere for my birthday in Germany or in Spain? Why does it have to be like this?" That's the only thing they care about. So
Um, yeah,
Hold on,
sorry to
drop.
cut you off.
That's the USA. Go
That's
ahead.
it. Yeah, one sec. I'm looking at the. I'm going to reply to some of the comments in the chat real quick. The one
Yeah, I see
individual
it. Yeah,
in
go
the
ahead. Go
chat.
ahead.
I want to say this: Russia does not have a history of enslaving black people. The United States of America does. In fact, Russia have a history of allowing black people to seek refuge. That's what Lumumba University come from. When Angela Davis, when Dr. John Henry Clark, and a number of others, Paul Robeson, they have a statue of him here, by the way, in Moscow. When these brothers were fighting against the aggression, the direct aggression against the United States government, that were doing, and these were brothers just protesting. These were brothers that were speaking out against the unfairness that was going on. Russia has a history since the 1920s of helping Black Americans escape from America, coming here to Moscow, and actually allowing them to live a normal life as a human being. So I just wanted to say that. So when somebody's writing, "Oh, Russia is trying to slave this and that," these are definite hearsay. So um, uh, uh, again, I'm not going to go back and forth with some of the comments. Somebody said black people aren't slaves in America. I'm
Hmm.
not even gonna address that. That's a whole different topic. I don't even think that person is like Harriet Tubman say. I would have freed a lot more only if they knew they were slaves. Look that one up. Go on,
No,
proceed,
you make
brother. I'm
a
sorry.
no, you make a good point. You make a very good point. Gerard, you there?
Yeah, man, I'm here, man. I had to switch my audio and situation around. I'm getting a window replaced, so there's a lot of banging. So hopefully it's clear. You can hear me.
Yeah, we hear you good.
Am I
We hear
coming?
you good.
Okay, that's great. That's great, man.
Uh,
Yeah, I just here's the thing, man. Like again, I stated, I was in the service for 23 years, man. Served in the military intelligence for about 8. Um, I'm not going to discredit what the brother's saying as far as what he knows with his, his personal circles and the people that he comes in contact with. But we all have to understand that's anecdotal, right? You know what I mean? Like I don't know, if I talk about all of the people that I've, oh, I don't know this type of person, right? Or I've never witnessed or experienced that. All these experiences are anecdotal that we have. Not discrediting them, but we can't say that that's the all the end all and be all, right? So maybe he may not be coming in contact with Ukrainians that are not against Russia invading their country, but overall collectively, they did have elections, whether wrong or right, they elected a particular regime that chose to move closer to the West. Whether that's neither here nor there as far as my opinion about that. And Russia is playing a power play because again they don't want to have that. They've lost over the subsequent years of with the falling of the Soviet Union. They've lost influence in this region where they had significant influence. These countries like Estonia and Ukraine, Poland, all of them have, all these Eastern Bloc countries, so former Soviet Bloc countries have, moved closer to the West because they want the capitalism and access to markets and so on and so forth, right? That, I feel that, they obviously made a pivot away from Russia. And this is just this is what you're seeing, a resurgence of Russia trying to flex its muscles. I mean, to say that Putin's a benevolent dictator or what have you, come on, we just gotta call a spade a spade. I mean, is the man the worst man ever? Is he he's the greatest man? No, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's I'm not going to sit up here and act like, oh, America is this great thing, and I'm caping for America or what have you. I'm it is what it is. But
yeah, but
to
Gerard,
say, go
Xavier
ahead.
wasn't saying that. He wasn't talking about the credibility of Putin. He was just saying what's going on in the current situation or why they have conflict. Right, Xavier?
Oh yeah, but
Yeah, absolutely, and it's the same as again, when if you want to do a comparative analysis, the United States, and you was a part of the military. Did the I mean, do you agree with the U.S. calling themselves going into Iraq because somebody claimed that they have
yeah,
nuclear weapons,
no,
and that
no,
was a
no,
clear.
that was all cap. That was all
So
cap.
That was so it was
That was
what
big
you would
cap.
that yeah, would you consider that to be American people, American soldiers that are dying based on a decision that the government made, or perhaps the president made, or whoever is in power? That was a decision that they made. These are decisions that, unfortunately, the Ukrainian president was trying to lean towards making a decision with joining a different military force, which is in violation of the agreement that they made. That look up the Warsaw Pact. Look up the Warsaw Agreement. Aaron, if you could post it, it's the if you can. But the Warsaw Pact, actually, they made an agreement not to join a different military group, and they did this back in 1994. Okay, so if you say, hey, okay, you want your independence, you no longer want to be under the Soviet Union, you no longer want to be communist, let's make an agreement. Okay, what's the agreement? Do not join any other military big forces such as do not. Basically, they were saying don't join NATO. They were like, look, you can't join any other military group. Things of that nature. You need weapons. You buy your weapons from us. Saudi Arabia, they buy their weapons from the U.S. That's an agreement that the U.S. made with Saudi Arabia. I think until recently, Saudi
But if they,
Arabia. So I'm just saying these are decisions that the presidents made on people's behalf that the people had
well,
no control over.
indirectly they do, due to the fact, just like, okay, so we can't, as Americans, right? We can't obscure ourselves or from a responsibility for the atrocities that that the government has done on the behalf of the American people, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, for as yes, there are many people. I was in the service my damn self. You know what I'm saying? And I've been deployed to Iraq. I was in the Middle East. I was there when 2 months prior to us starting the war in Iraq. I knew it was coming. I was in the service. At the same time, I can't sit up there and say I have no responsibility whatsoever. Unfortunately, this is what happens when you have democracies and people, majority rule, whatever the case may be, whether they get it crooked or right or wrong. You know what I'm saying? This is what they do. Unlike now, for instance, the Russian people really don't have an influence. You know what I'm saying? You could say it was more so the Russian people don't have any type of control of what Putin is doing or what have you. Because come on, we know there's no fair and there's no electoral process. Truthfully, you know what I mean? That's all. That's big cap. We already know that. Whereas at least the illusion in America that we do it, but nonetheless, we can't up there and just sit up and say, oh, yes, they do stuff in our but we pay tax dollars. We live in this country. You know what I'm saying? So we own that indirectly, if not directly, right? We own it. You know what I mean? To say that the Ukrainian people, that they're not fractions of the Ukrainian people that want to move to the West. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not on the ground, and you know what I mean, as much as you, and so I'll give you credence on that because I'm not there touching the ground, right? But to say that there's like it's majority not versus majority is, I question that, man. You know what I mean?
No, you got a good point with that particular part that you said about. The whole world is influenced by Western media. The whole world is wearing New York Yankee hats. Basically, well, as I like to say, as the black culture goes, so goes America, right? And now you got people here in Moscow, Russia, wearing New York Yankee baseball caps. You got people here in Russia that's dressing like some dude in the hood in Brooklyn. You got people in Eritrea wearing Michael Jordan number 23 basketball jerseys. So yes, there are perhaps people that are influenced culturally by American culture, or should I say black culture, here in Russia and also in Ukraine. There was a lot of people wearing DMX T-shirts when I was in Ukraine 5 months ago for the summer. So yes, there are people that are influenced by Western media and Western society, Western civilization, granted. But as far as them understanding NATO, are we on? Are we on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm hearing you, bro.
Yeah, sorry.
We're hearing
As far as them understanding NATO and wanting to join NATO, that's an entirely different thing. NATO is a military force. And
yes, it's a military agreement. Granted, no doubt. But any sovereign country should be able to do what the hell they want to do. At the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? And there's,
maybe hold on, man. Maybe not in concerns of being that close to to another
No,
Why
country.
not?
no.
Why
Any
not? Why
country,
not?
No,
any
because
sovereign
no,
country can join NATO. That's part of NATO's like
Who's that? Is it
agreement
no, not
charter.
if. But hold on, not if.
Bati Thug?
They can apply for it. They can
No,
apply
here's the
for it.
thing.
Doesn't mean NATO's going to join.
Here's the thing.
Turkey's been
Exactly.
trying to join and they ain't not letting them join.
Okay,
You
hold
know,
on,
No,
fellas,
Turkey's
hold on,
joined
real
already.
quick,
Turkey joined.
real quick. I want to introduce Body Thug
I'm sorry.
to the
Thank you.
panel. Go ahead and go ahead and say your take on it because I know you haven't spoken yet.
I'm sorry for butting in like that, but yeah, I appreciate it. I mean, I appreciate everybody's comments and their opinions and stuff. I do respect it, but I agree with a lot of what Lamont, I think that's what his name, Lamont was saying. Um, the last part we were talking about, any sovereign country can join NATO if they fit certain criteria. I think that Warsaw Pact was between like the Western European countries and with Russia, and not pertaining to it. It wasn't with Estonia, it wasn't with Poland, it wasn't with Ukraine. So that's one part of it. Another part was
You're incorrect. Sorry to interrupt,
Ukraine
but you're
didn't.
incorrect on that.
The other part of that. Okay. Another part of that is if a sovereign country wants to decide to be closer to China or be closer to Russia or be closer to Germany or in Eastern European or Western European countries, they should be able to do that. Overall, this is more of a play for Putin. It's not about the Russian people. Obviously, the government doesn't represent the people of Russia. This is more of a power play and feeding his, ego / narcissism / his communist dictatorship ways. It's more of about his personality than anything else.
Okay, you're regurgitating what CNN is saying.
I'm regurgitating what I'm saying and what I understand from several different outlets. Nobody just if it's 2022, if you're only getting one piece of information from one place, then you're an idiot. You should be getting your information and listen to a lot of different other outlets, and you should be reading other stuff too.
Okay, so so based on
and it's not
that,
like CNN is wrong either. They're not correct on everything. No outlet is correct on anything. But go ahead.
Oh, okay. So what you made a few statements, and I just wanted to say those were incorrect. When you look at the Warsaw Agreement, it actually is between the former Soviet nations. And the former Soviet nations, the agreement was not to join. You want your independence? Yes. Okay. Rule number 1, do not join another military force.
Has Ukraine joined a military force?
Hold on. That was the agreement, not to join an international military force. That was the agreement that they had with Poland. That was the agreement that they had with, look it up. They had that agreement. It's a list of countries. Most of them were former Soviet bloc countries. But of course, you don't get that in Western media. Wait a minute.
I can't look it up myself?
Yes, you can. Actually, it's on the and Aaron is one of the
if I look it up myself, then
I have it right there. I have it.
I'm gonna pull it up.
I have it right here. Yeah, I have it right here that you can look up. That's why I said
I don't need CNN for that. But at the same time,
no. CNN is not mentioning that. No, CNN is not.
Let me ask you a question.
Real quick. No. Let me make my point based on the statements you made. See, there was an agreement between these countries not to. There's several of them up there. It's an agree. Look at all those list of countries. There's an agreement between them not to join other military. You want your independence? Yeah, don't join another military because clearly Poland military itself cannot go against Russia. Okay, Estonian military by itself cannot go against Russia. So most of them militarily wise, it's like, hey, do not join. If you want to be neutral, you want to call yourself sovereign, okay, then don't join another military force. Why? Because these people are going to put missiles right here, and your missiles can reach my country. When Russia decided to send missiles to Cuba during what's called the Cuban Missile Crisis, the world was up in an uproar because why? What did John F. Kennedy say in his speech? Those missiles can reach Washington, D.C. Those missiles in Cuba can reach Miami. He was that world was the United States was in an uproar about that. So let's just say 2022.
So wait a minute. Are we saying that the missiles we have now, capabilities in 2022,
NATO
cannot reach Russia?
No. The long range capabilities of it. For instance, yeah, if you know when some okay, you
Hmm.
understand nuclear. If you understand nuclear rockets and how ballistics work, right? You understand that. You would understand every time North Korea decide to practice a missile launch. America, well, I'm sorry, the Western media go up in flames, wall to wall coverage. North Korea fired a missile and it can reach Taiwan. It can reach Hong Kong. It can reach any of the allies that they have over in the Pacific. And that's what they're afraid of, right? So now, of course, you don't get in Western media that NATO has wet missiles that can perhaps reach Russia. Why? Because it's now placed closer to Russia. It's in Poland. Kaliningrad, Russia, borders Poland. But that's not wall to wall coverage in Western media.
But the
But
thing
guess
is,
what?
my
It's
question
wall
is,
to wall coverage
before
here
they
in
was in
Moscow.
Poland, before they was in Estonia, you don't in 2020, what, when did they join? They joined within the last 15, 20 years,
Every year,
right?
2021, a different country keep joining. NATO keep expanding.
Right.
This is what you have to understand.
So are you
NATO
understand?
keep
Do you understand that we have the capability?
we
When I
who
mean we, I mean the Western bloc of countries already have the capability to reach Russia.
listen. Here's what I'm saying to
But
you.
it will be expedited by having allies
Closer,
that are
yes.
closer. I mean, come on. I mean, like let's be real though.
And the
We
problem is
can't
not the
deny that.
missiles; it's about having land proper, being
Right.
able to
Exactly.
go in by land. That's the real issue.
No. What I'm
It's
saying is
not the
this:
missiles.
if it's a missile coming all the way from the U.S., of course Russia going to see that. They track airplanes that's coming and landing into Moscow airport and
Agreed.
every other airport. So you
Hmm.
can at least stop missiles with defense systems if missiles are coming all
Right.
the way from the Pacific Ocean coming across. Come on now.
But
Now,
it's just
I
about
mean,
having
And
access to
stop
the
hold
all of
on,
land.
them.
hold on. Yeah, no, but if you got something real close to Poland, if you got something in Poland right there, or if NATO placed missiles right in Ukraine, come on now, you could keep that below radar. You could keep that below air radar frequency. So
And the big
I'm
question
saying,
is this: why would Russia be have
Hold on,
fear
that's a
that
good. Hold
NATO?
on, that's a good point, Xavier. You saying if they get that close, they can fly under the radar?
yeah, you got to freaking throw it with your hand. That's the border right there. And and what do most people have on their border? Their military.
Hmm.
There's military bases near the Mexican border. You got military bases near the Canadian border. There are military bases mostly along every country got military bases along their border in fear of invasion by their neighbors. That's how they became neighbors in the first place. They drew a line in the sand and say, "This is my country, this is your country," or whatever. You cross this river, this is my country, this is your country, and you
Except if
somebody
you're
throw
Russia and Ukraine.
no Russia and Ukraine. It's right there. It's not separated by water. Russia and Ukraine,
But there's a
pretty
line
much
in the sand where it's like, this is my country and this is your country. Except if you're
absolutely.
Russia, and then you say, you know what? Sorry, Ukraine, you're not your own country.
Again, there was an agreement before NATO decided to influence presidents. This is what I'm trying to tell you. This what I don't think you're understanding this point. There was an agreement made between them not to join. You can call yourself sovereign all you want,
Has
but
Ukraine joined NATO?
no, they haven't.
They
The
haven't met any
president.
of the. They haven't met the criteria to join
No.
NATO
No. The president of it's not about meeting the criteria. The president of
to join it is.
Ukraine, right? Okay, again, the president of Ukraine. In that case, Estonia wouldn't qualify. Any of those Baltic countries wouldn't qualify. What I'm saying to you is this: the president of Ukraine is trying to make a decision on the behalf of the people, and this is what
Who
causes it.
elected him?
It's not the president. It's not just the
It's-
president. The parliament and so on and so forth.
Right.
I
okay,
mean, it's
okay.
elected.
Again,
They
It's a party. It's a
elected him.
political party. Yeah,
Again,
and they
when
No
elected him.
I say
one elected Putin.
when I say the president, I'm talking about the when I say the president, I'm talking about the president and his powers that be. Or if you want me to say the administration, right? Because when you say Obama did this, Obama killed Muammar Gaddafi, it's the Obama administration. So
Hmm.
if you want
But
to get into technical terms, I mean, we can do that. But I'm trying to stick to the point of understanding. When you saying someone is sovereign, or these people got their independence, agreements are usually made. When you're talking about colonialism and its former colonies, when they say Jamaica got its independence from the British, guess what? There's an agreement that's been made between them. It's not so much that they're sovereign and they can do whatever the heck they want. That's not the case. That's never been the case for any country.
No, sir.
Agreements have been made with
Agreements,
each other,
and they've
and
been
when these
broken, and they've been broken
well,
before.
and
Like
United
China
States
with Hong Kong,
and United States
and what they're
violate
about to do to Taiwan.
United States violated every agreement that they made, even with its
Of
own
course.
Native Americans on
And
the
Russia
soil.
didn't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Again,
come on, man.
No, hold
Yeah,
on,
stop the cap, bro.
hold on. No, hold on. Listen, I'm not defending Russia here. I just want you to understand what's going on here. Now, the agreement is you're not going to join. This is what. Let's talk about the current situation. What's happening now?
But hold on.
Situation
But was
is.
it at the? But
Oh my goodness! The current situation is this is what's not being. The agreement was made with Poland and Russia. The agreement was made with Poland and Russia not to join NATO. What happened? Poland joined NATO. The agreement with Bulgaria and Russia don't join NATO. This was the agreement back in 1994.
And why
when
would
they
those
decided
countries want to join NATO?
It's not about the countries trying to join NATO.
No.
Here's the
Why,
thing.
that is the question. Why would they want to join NATO?
Okay. Let's talk about that. Well, let's talk about that. These are things that I thought you would already know. But it's no news to everybody that the United States government, or the West, should I say, and its allies have influence and power, either with dollars or with, and they influence presidents and governments all the time.
What about freedom?
Okay.
What about freedom?
Who killed the president of Haiti?
China.
What about freedom?
Everybody know that the president, that United States and his administration killed the president of Haiti.
What about freedom?
Ain't nobody talking. What do you mean freedom?
Yeah, I'm talking about. Does Poland and Estonia want freedom, autonomy?
Freedom, as far as what in particular? What are you talking about? Specify something when you say freedom, because
freedom
again,
having freedom of press, freedom of elections, freedom to decide their own destiny, as opposed to doing what Russia wants them to do.
Do Iraq want his freedom? Come on, man, you could throw that for anything. Freedom. How do you define that when you're talking about as far as America? As far as America's concerned, black people were free since the ending of the Civil War.
Man, stop the cap.
And hold on, this is not cap.
We can't battle. We're talking about
hold on.
Europe. Why are we talking about slavery,
because now you're going back to defining what freedom is.
You reaching, bro.
And America is still black people in America. No. Let's talk about what you call.
We know what freedom is. We
black
didn't have
people
it. Back then. We didn't have it.
Hold on.
Let's go back to Europe.
Does Russia have a history of enslaving Ukrainians or anybody for that matter?
They've had
freedom. Let's talk about freedom, right? Does Russia have a history of enslaving anybody?
Yes, they do. Yes.
They have a history of enslaving black people?
Enslaving their own people. They enslaving that dude that they try to poison and kill. That was what's the opposition dude? The opposition. He had to free himself. He had to go to like another country, I think Germany, to get the poison out of him. And then when he went back to Russia, he got rearrested. Saying by leaving the country and saving his own life because they try to kill him.
So he went back to Russia.
Prison.
He went back in
so
slavery.
That is a slavery. Come on.
Wait.
Now,
So he left Russia. He left Russia by his own free volition, by his own free will.
No, he was sick. He had to save his life. No,
and then he went back to Russia. He went back to slavery.
He went back to the country. Yes.
So why would he go back to Russia if Russia was enslaving him? Why would he go back there?
As a form of protest. As a form of protest.
Come on, man. If you don't have any freedom, you shouldn't be able to protest.
I don't want to get too far.
Yeah, I think we are. We are, man.
No, because the nuances of the word freedom.
Slavery. They are not free there.
All right, fellas. Let me catch.
I'm here in Moscow. What do you mean? I'm here in Moscow. What do you mean we're not free?
All right, let me catch the super chat real quick by Eric Power for the follow-up super chat. He says, "My brothers, especially the ones in Russia and Ukraine, how can we black men profit from this?" And we're gonna get to that in a moment. We're gonna answer that because we did want to speak on that as well. Kazeem, you haven't spoken in a while, man. Anything you had to say?
Not really specifically, because I try to understand all my brothers who have been speaking so far. I mean, they have made points. Yeah. It's just a matter of how we understand it from different perspectives. Sorry. So I guess that Xavier was actually right when he's talking about the agreement they make, which they're trying to break. And my brothers also were right. The agreement is gone. Now it's democracy and you have to be free once you get independent. But I don't think it actually works like that, because I'll take Nigerian case for example. We get independence from the United Kingdom, right? But ever since then, it doesn't mean Nigeria is free to make its own decision. Every now and then, the British still they still actually feel like they're still living under the Britain. Actually, that controls them. Even the oil we got in Nigeria, we are not even refining oil in our country. They didn't allow us to do that. They have to say they have to send the oil back somewhere, and Nigeria has to buy it again from them. This is again a part of slavery. They are
Wait a
still
minute, wait a minute. Hold on. So now they get the oil from Nigeria.
Nigeria has the oil, but now
Uh-huh.
they're trying to have a refinery, which means they want to try to be producing oil in Nigeria themselves. But before now, they actually get the oil back, export from Nigeria to refine it somewhere else, and Nigeria, which owns the oil, have to buy again the oil with their own money. The oil I own,
That's
I'm
insane.
buying it again with my own money. Yeah,
That's
absolutely
insane.
insane. This is part of still slavery. We say we have independent, but actually maybe they are doing that because they had an agreement before they become an independent. That the agreement we don't know. We citizens we don't know actually. But the point is, if the Nigerian government can allow that, that means they had an agreement before then, which we don't know. If they don't, they won't allow that. So we have to actually understand the agreement they had before they get independent. It actually matters. Having said that, yeah, once we have an independent, we should be able to make our decision. That's true. But I think it should have a limit based on the agreement we had. Yeah. So I'm trying to say, all my brothers who have been speaking, they're both right. Just that they are looking at it from different aspects and from different understanding. But yeah, I think I would say they're all right. But yeah, you know, it's not that simple. The way with, I mean, they're politicians, they are the leader, they are the one controlling everything. We're actually just saying based on what we understand, not based on the reality that they sign between each other. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay. And Xavier, you mentioned something earlier in our conversation before we went live about because I know Eric Powell wants to know as far as opportunities maybe purchasing land over there in Eastern Europe during this time.
Yeah, so there's a saying, a business saying, especially in real estate. It says when there's blood on the streets, buy land. And a lot of your American, Donald Trump, a lot of your real estate moguls, this is what they say. So they have apartments um, that are going for 5,000 euros now. So a lot of apartments are for sale, a lot of land in Ukraine. When I was there in the summer, when I was there 5 months ago for the summer, it was $1,000 an acre. Now people are like, hey, you can buy it for. Obviously, it's war going on, right? And you don't want to seem like somebody who's a money hungry individual, but this is what capitalism and democracy brings about. What's called opportunities, right? So people take advantage of unfortunate situations, such as that's what gentrification is, taking advantage of poor people or people that are in unfortunate situations. Hey, I'll buy your apartment and thank you. I'll buy it from you and that's it. So, that's what democracy entails. This is the nature of democracy and capitalism. It's, hey, big bank, take little bank, right? And it just does that on the financial level. Of course, it's being happening on the military level. So yeah, they have apartments that are cheap now. They have apartments that are 5,000 euros. It's probably about 6,000 American dollars. So yeah, it's just, that's just the reality. So people, you look for opportunities in places. Colombia, when Colombian situation was going on years ago, Colombia is at a disadvantage for Colombians, but yet. Black people or anybody making any kind of income can go buy land and can purchase land or property in Colombia, given the fact that they're going through their situation. So yes, here in Eastern Europe, given the situation that's been escalating, yes, land is cheap now. You can buy land, you can buy apartments, and you can conduct
And
business.
did you say apartments were $5,000-$6,000?
Three
That's that
bed,
US?
3 bedrooms. Yeah, it's about 6,000 American, 5,000 euros. So yeah, you get 3 bedroom apartments now. because people are leaving. People are leaving their current situation. Again, this sounds a bit of like an opportunist. This sounds like someone taking advantage of a situation, a bad situation that's happening. But again, what's the prime definition of democracy and capitalism? Is the fact of you buying stuff for cheap for lower prices and holding on to it and sell it when the price go back up. Um, again, unless World War III occurs, right? Unless people start nuking each other, who wants to be in a radiated nuclear zone? No one. So
Exactly.
opportunities are vast at this point, on all levels. Opportunities are here for the business-minded individual, for the entrepreneur, for the person that actually wants to pursue this opportunity. Yes, the opportunities are here.
Excellent, excellent. Let me catch a super chat by Mr. GG Zero Money Down Real Estate Structures with the $5 super chat. Man, that's a long name. But shout out to Mr. GG. He says, that's why I don't like getting into political conversations. It's always a back and forth battle about whose research is right or wrong in general. Okay. Good point. Good point. All right.
So for the brother definitely asking about that, that's definitely hey, it's good opportunities to make some purchases, especially if you don't see this thing lasting a while. You don't see this thing lasting long at all.
Yeah, because it's like it's more so a disagreement or a breach of terms, breach of contract than anything.
Again, it's not in Western media that these agreements were made between these former Soviet uh, uh, countries. Independence were made, like Kazeem just said about Nigeria. Yes, Nigeria produces the best oil. Bunny Light crude oil is the best oil. It doesn't require a lot of refining. It doesn't require a lot. It's the best oil, followed by Iranian oil. But the best oil there is Bunny Light crude oil. It's the number one oil anybody can want. And again, they have an agreement with the British that Nigeria actually buys its oil once it's refined. They buy it in the
That's
form of
insane.
gas. They buy it in the form of propane. They buy it in different form. I was in oil and gas, obviously. That's how I know. But and I can get into the nuances and the details of it. But yes, a lot of African countries, they give their natural products, raw products, whether it's cocoa out of Ethiopia or cocoa out of Ghana or rubber out of Nigeria and Liberia, and it goes back to America for refining, and that's where you got Ohio and some of those states, Motor City, Detroit, and a lot of these places that actually process this stuff and actually put it in the rubber, and they sell it back to Africa. So yes, a lot of natural goods come out of Africa, and based on the agreements with that they have with their former colonies, they take this stuff, they refine it somewhere else, and sell it back to Africa. Or the media points a picture at Africa and go, "Look how poor they are! Look how poor they are!" And they're not expressing exactly how the natural resources are being taken from them. And I want to say this: that's mostly again Western Europe. Russia does not have a history of doing that. Again, Russia
Can I
does
have a
not have
question?
a history of going and doing that to black people.
Can
Yes.
I ask a question?
Oh, yes,
What
yes.
would it take for like the African countries like like Nigeria who have these natural resources to set up their own refineries and refine the oil themselves and put it on the market for themselves?
Well, I'm going to say that's not okay. Well, let me answer the question. Well, let me say this: those that have tried were pushed out of power. Those that have tried, those Nigerian heads of state that have tried to incorporate some form of independence by trying to build their own refinery, trying to establish their own manufacturing plants on the ground in Africa, whether it's Nigeria, whether it's Charles Taylor in Liberia, um, all of a sudden, what happens is, ironically, some sort of rebel group comes in there who are highly weaponized, and they start to fight to push that president out of power, or that head of state out of power, whether it's the great Dr. Nkrumah in Ghana, whether it's Patrice Lumumba in the Congo. No matter who tried, all of them has been labeled as the bad guy. And again, rebel forces went after them. They fought back. And of course, the media would only show this guy is slaughtering his own people. He's a dictator, whether it's Idi Amin, Dada, no matter who it is. The ones that have tried have been ridiculed by Western media. They said Idi Amin ate people. He was a cannibal. And, and this is what happened when African heads of state try to gain some sort of independence. It's always some rebel group that push them out, that try to push them out of power. And again, this is what we get in Western media. This guy's the bad guy. He's starving his people, when all he really wanted was pure sovereign and independence. He did not want to rely on the West. Or
Kazeem, can you answer that question as well?
Yeah. I mean, I could just talk about my own country because I could remember very well. There was a guy, I forgot actually his name. That was the president before Jonathan. Jonathan was before the current president. I remember he actually signed, not he was trying to sign. He actually signed an agreement before Putin, that was Medvedev, when he was the president, then Putin was the prime minister. He signed an agreement with him about the oil stuff and economical stuff with Russia. All of a sudden, a couple of months after then, we just heard the guy was sick and that's it. And he died. We don't know what happened. What was funny was immediately after the guy died, the president, after the agreement is signed with Russia, the vice president, Jonathan, became the president. Immediately he became the president, he canceled the agreement and joined agreements with the United States. I'm not saying I know what happened. I'm not saying, he's the president, but the point is, you're the vice president. When your own president signed an agreement with Russia, your president died all of a sudden, which we don't know the cause of the death. You became the president, acting president, and you canceled the agreement which your own president had. It's obvious, right? We don't have to, keep digging what happened before we know the reality of what's going on. So, this actually happens in different African countries when you're trying to do. Let's take an example of Libya as well, saying he doesn't like his people and blah, blah, blah. We all know how Libya people were living before Gaddafi died. We all know they're one of the best countries in the world. We all know how they're living good, how they're having access to free life, freedom, and so on. How dare you say he doesn't like his people? If he doesn't like his people, how would they be living good and great? You take him away, what happened after that? They're one of the poorest country now. So if you take Libya away, does that mean the people are living good now? No, they're living worse. So, I don't think this is a situation we have to be fighting back and forth before we realize the truth of the Western world, or of the United States or something. I think it's not something to debate on. It's something to come together and look at how we can solve this situation. We are common citizens. Maybe we have no power yet, but at least we can still do something to make everything great for Africa, or especially for the Black nation. So that's where I can say that there is more than what we are just saying, actually. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Right. Good point. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the show. I'm going to get everybody's closing thoughts. I'm going to start off with you, Bati Thug.
Oh, I just want to say thanks for having me up again, man. Appreciate talking to all y'all. Brothers, just get your money up, safe travels, and I'll talk to y'all next side.
Thank you,
Okay,
Bati.
man. Appreciate you coming on. Gerard, you want to go ahead and give your closing statement?
Yeah, a lot of things were expressed on the call. I wasn't able to, address all of them. But ultimately, two things could be true at the same time, man, right? We were just talking about Gaddafi and, these different guys. None of these people are angels. They're human beings. There's pros and cons. There's always two sides to every. Actually, it's three sides.
Gerard, you cut out a little bit.
So,
I'm sorry.
I think Gerard cut out a little bit. Kazeem, you want to go ahead, give us your closing statement?
Well, nothing much to say than just to thank you, brothers, for coming over. I mean, for sharing your point and opinions. Yeah, I mean, I saw a brother writing the situation. I mean, the opportunity or what the black guys can get from the what is going on between Russia and Ukraine. I don't know what the black guys can benefit from it, but I'm just gonna say we that we are in Russia and my brothers who are in Ukraine. I'm talking of the blacks. I mean, it's not good for the black guys in Ukraine right now. They're trying to find a way to, move to Poland. I mean, even today, or was it yesterday, the Nigerian president have also sent a plane down to Ukraine to evacuate the Nigerians who are in Ukraine just to come home for now. So in Russia, everything is good. There is nothing. I mean, as for now, everything is fine. No war. Everything is very, very peaceful. So I'm just gonna say thank you guys for my brothers for sharing their opinion and coming over today.
All right, man. I appreciate you coming on. All right, let me catch the super chat, and I'm gonna get Xavier's closing statement, closing thought. Shout out to Eric Powell to follow super chat once again. I appreciate that, Eric. He says the only thing the Europeans respect are shiny gold and hot lead. If you can't control the first or through the second, you will be dominated. All right, good point.
All right, man.
Shout out to Eric Powell. All right, go ahead, Xavier.
Okay, so summarizing it up, we shouldn't allow, we as Black people globally, um, we should understand both sides of what's going on. We should understand that the West, the United States of America, and Russia are working together with the space shuttle. Are they working together up in space? They have agreements between each other on different kind of business moves. Like I said, the Barclay Center is owned by Russian. Large percentages of American corporations and companies are owned by foreigners, which includes some Russian oligarchs. So I think if we look past what's being thrown in our face as a distraction, we can see that these same individuals or these same countries, superpowers, are working together with each other on different levels here. I think Black people should not stop fighting for reparations in America for those that have enslaved us. We should continue focusing on and not being not being distracted. Perhaps this could be an immigration move. They have something in America that's been going on for almost a year and a half now called the Great Resignation. A lot of people have been quitting their jobs because they feel their company aren't paying them enough. They don't feel like going into the office. Some people are blaming COVID. So these type of things are going on in America right now. And them accepting migrants from Ukraine because of this quote unquote invasion / conflict, this situation going on, could be a nice immigration move for America, because they do need foreigners to occupy the jobs that a lot of Americans not wanting to do. So we should all look at things holistically from a business perspective. We should all look at things holistically from a social perspective. And as Black people, we need to understand not to be distracted by what media throw in front of us. I'm in Moscow. Here in Moscow is safe. No war, no nothing like that's going on here in Moscow right now. And again, I think the brothers that was on the panels, for their perspective, we all know what's going on militarily. I wish that brothers can do a little bit more research and understanding different agreements that were made between all the countries, even Nigeria. People need to understand the agreement that was made between Nigeria and the British, its former colony, Jamaica and the British. So we need to understand that agreements are made between countries when countries actually agree on having an actual independence. There were no war fought between Russia and Ukraine for Russia to gain its independency. There was no war fought between the two. It was an agreement made. Okay, you get to have Ukraine. You get to do this without us doing anything to you, based on these following stipulations. And one of them was, do not join a different military. And brothers can look this up. Again, it's not popular in Western media, but those agreements were made between all of the former Soviet countries. And NATO has been expanding. These are facts. NATO have been expanding, and unfortunately, NATO expanding on into Ukraine, or the threat of NATO expanding into Ukraine, created a situation which we have now on the ground. I thank brothers for listening. I hope brothers do actually respect this perspective of what I'm saying, what Kazeem is saying, who's been here for 12 years in Moscow. I hope brothers do understand that, yes, there are black people here in Moscow. And I hope brothers understand that we're just informing you on what's going on here in Moscow and things that you might not see on Western media.
All right, man. Good point. Good point. Appreciate you coming on once again. Great show.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.